Horror has remained one of my personal favorite genres, and I try to consume content across different countries when it comes to a movie from this genre. Hollywood, over the period of time, had a variety to offer with its campy horror movies like Hellraiser, Nightmare at Elm Street, and Friday the 13th in the 70s and 80s. It also had a lot of its classic from the conventional horror with demonic possessions and jump scares like Evil Dead, Exorcist, and The Omen, which in the last decade has evolved into horror movies with a lot of social commentary like Get Out, Candyman, and the most recent Talk to Me. But they still have been able to deliver on many horror movies with typical jump scares like the rebooted Evil Dead franchise and the Conjuring universe. While they also have directors like Ali Aster, Roger Ebert, and Mike Flanagan who have made a unique trademark with the kind of horror movies that they keep us surprising with. Among the most recent lots, Mike Flanagan remains my personal favorite, with a wide variety of content in the horror genre like Haunting on Hill House, Fall of the House of Usher, The Shining sequel Doctor Sleep, Oculus, and Oya 2 Origin of Evil. On the other hand, the Indian cinema with its horror genre is still pretty underleveraged, with a kind of B-rated guilty pleasure horror movies from the Ramses in the 80s to the musical jump scares effort from the Bhatt camp with movies like Raz in the 90s and 2000s. I highly appreciate Ram Gopal Verma's indie take on the genre with movies like Raat, Bhoot, and even anthologies like Darna Mana Hai and Darna Zaruri Hai. Sad part is, not many directors extended the genre that RGV was able to create. While someone like me from the Hindi speaking market got a little late exposure to movies from other regions, but some of the movies that I like or which I highly admire from the south would be Mani Tazu from the Malayalam cinema, which had such a great atmospheric setting, plot, and acting from the leads that it evoked for a remake in multiple languages, though only a few of those remakes, like Bhul Bhulaiya, succeeded to a marginal extent. Another great horror movie from the Malayalam cinema that I watched last year was Revti and Shane Nigam starrer Bhutakalam, which is also available on Sony Live. While Aval, starring Sidharth, Andrea, and Aniksha Victor from the Tamil cinema that was able to do a really good job with the possession and haunted house genre, specifically because of the acting of Anisha Victor. Recently, the Gujarati cinema had to offer another different take on a possession genre, which was Vash, and pretty quickly was remade by Bollywood into a movie called Shaitan, which also received a very fine response. However, after I watched the period folklorish horror movie Tumbar from the Hindi cinema, which was directed by Rahil Anil Bharve, looking at the quality of the script, the exceptional BGM by Jesper Kid, the mind-blowing cinematography, I felt if this sub-genre of horror would survive in India. And it's great that we are getting to make this video in the name of the recent Malayalam movie starring Mammootty, that is Bramayugam, is a Malayalam folk horror film written and directed by Rahul Sadasivan, whose previous venture Bhutakalam, starring Revti and Shane Nigam, is something that I highly admire. The slow burn haunted house horror movie is something that I would recommend everyone who likes this genre. Coming back to Brahmayugam, which is a period movie and the story takes place during the 17th century in the Malabar region, where the central character Thivan, played by Arjun Ashokan, who along with one of his friend is on a run out while his friend dies in the process. The cause of death is something I will not reveal in this video. On his way, Thivan reaches to a Brahmin's heritage house. This house only accompanies a cook played by Sidharth Bharathan and the Brahmin owner of the house played by Mammootty. How Thivan's life changes from the point he reaches this house, all the folklorish secrets that are revealed during his stay in the house, and the impact of the demigod like powerful character of Koduman Potti, who, in almost all possible ways, will now decide the fate of Thivan's life, follows the rest of the story. Let's start with the things that I liked about this movie. The story of Brahmayugam has a very strong folklorish feel, and this is ultimately achieved by an outstanding cinematography, art direction, set design, and many more technical aspects. Every frame of the movie that you look at will take you to the world that Rahul Sadasivan has created for the audience of Brahmayugam. And this is definitely not an easy task. The technical aspects of this movie are so strong that it feels like there is an invisible string that is connecting the great sets, the camera movement with the BGM and the sound design. Another home run that Rahul Sadasivan hits with Brahmayugam is the creative choice to go black and white. I personally had huge reservations of watching a movie in black and white. This was also the case with me watching The Lighthouse, directed by Robert Eggers. But wow, I was proved so wrong by Rahul Sadasivan in the case of Brahmayugam. The treat that this movie is, the haunted setting, the folklorish feel, the motivation, and the situations that the characters are going through. All of this is elevated majorly because it's beautifully presented in black and white. And finally, I think the biggest strength of the movie is its lead actor Mammootty. The actor marvels in the role of Kodaman Potti. He is controlling, he is powerful, and he is godlike. And even if I ignore the costumes and makeup that may have elevated some part of his performance, Mammootty himself carries the role so single handedly with his demeanor, in the way he laughs or the way he chews. You cannot move your eyes from him. This could be easily one of the best performances of the year from an Indian actor. And I sometimes think, just because the movie is from the horror genre, will the performance be lauded enough? It's a question that is worth debating. Coming to the things that I thought could have been better about the movie. There is not really a lot of flaws in this movie that I could talk about. The only disclaimer I would like to give would be to watch it with the right expectations, and one needs patience to watch and like this movie. You cannot expect this to be a jump scare like Conjuring or a horror comedy like Stree. Rather, if you liked a movie like Tumbad or even to the likes of Robert Eggers or Ari Aster movies, then you should go ahead and give this movie your time. However, I also wanted to talk about the final act and the climax of this movie. The final act did seem a little rushed and not as fleshed out as the initial parts of the movie. There could be several reasons for it, some of which would be like a spoiler, hence, it's something I would not be able to talk about in this video. So, what are my final thoughts? I think, as fan of the genre and great movies, I highly recommend Brahmayugam to anyone who is open to this genre of horror. With movies like Bhutakalam and Brahmayugam, Rahul Sadasivan is coming out as a force in the genre of horror. I will highly look forward to his next project. So this was the video on Brahmayugam. Do press the like button if you like the video and subscribe to the channel for more such content.